Hey everyone, and welcome back to the AI in Future podcast. I'm your host, Adima Zolkalia, product design and AI expert and the creator of the online program Unlocking the Power of Generative AI. And today we're diving into the profound impact of AI on humanity, exploring the ethical consideration, potential benefits, and the evolving relationship between humans and intelligent machines. Joining us is a leading AI researcher, product manager, and lecturer with a PhD in the field. We'll discuss how AI models can empower humans, the crucial connection between ethics and the quality of AI products, and the responsible development of AI in emerging realms. Get ready for thought provoking conversation about the future we're building here together. And I'm very proud to have my dear friend and guest, and Hisham Abdulhalim, and he's a product leader for AI safety and security at Intuit and researcher at the Technion. And I'm very happy to have you here, Hisham.
Thank you, Adi, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure, it's going to be really interesting because we have so many like interesting things to go on and to discuss. We're live
Mm,
on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion. And now we can start.
sure.
How can we ensure that AI systems are developed and used responsibly, minimizing the potential harms and maximizing the social benefits?
Thank you, Adi, for bringing that up. So it's a great question, and we don't have a single answer for that. But if I had to answer this, what I would say is to ensure that AI systems are developed and used responsibly. It's crucial to kind of strike the balance between technical and non-technical measurements. Let's take like the technical front, for example. So, developers should probably prioritize transparency, accountability, explainability, to kind of try to minimize the harm and maximize the benefits for the customers. This can be probably achieved by through multiple ways, and it depends on the basically on the company and the context and the business itself. But overall, from a technical perspective, developers can implement robust testing procedures to identify and address biases and errors and try to kind of minimize the potential harm while using the application, while using the actual product of the company. Making sure that you have data representations that actually try to minimize a potential false positive or false negative when AI is making an automatic decision. If we have to look at the non-technical measures, which is also super important, it's also essential for ensuring responsible AI development. And not only that, also the deployment of AI products, regulations or frameworks that actually support the local regulations of the operating market can play a crucial and a critical role in actually establishing guidelines and standards for AI development. It's a mindset, right? I mean, responsible AI is something that's is relatively, it's not new, but it's relatively something that a lot of companies are focusing on at the moment. And they try to embrace not only the technology to deliver faster and to create an immersive experience for the customers, but also to make sure that the customers feel safe and that are actually safe while using their AI products. So the mindset should be is that we need to look at both making sure that the quality of the product is in a high level, but also that we're making sure that our overall experience is safe for our customers.
Yeah. So you mentioned what the coders and the engineers should do, and it's like writing the code in a specific way in order for people to understand what's going on with the code and maybe understand why a certain answer was given, and to be responsible about the data, about the security of the data and all of that. But this is all from the backend side of developing these kinds of systems. But it seems that there is a lot of gray area, either in the safety or in the responsibility, saying like, first, like, what does it mean to have a safe interaction with these kinds of devices? What is really safe for the end customer, the user? Like,
Mhm.
I think that there is a very big gap between what we're supposed to be doing or what we're really implementing in and it's not only in the code as I see it.
That's a great point. Of course, I mean the code is one thing, but not only that. I think the whole overall experience of let's take the non AI world, right? I mean, before AI, even any type of product doesn't have to be a tech oriented product. You know, when you design the user flow and how users should actually use and benefit from a specific product, you have this kind of vision of the overall experience of how customers should use it, what potential cutting edge technology you should be using. Doesn't have to be technology as we know it today, but you kind of have to design and fashion an overall experience that not only looks at the specific operational benefit, but also the overall aspect of using the product. So for that, and the term safety, or like safe AI, could have multiple meanings, and I think it has a lot to do with the actual context. Like safety for autonomous vehicles, for example, is different than safety when you use social media platforms. But overall, I think what companies are looking at today is that customers should feel safe overall by not having to experience any harmful experiences or harmful content. And content can be in any form or fashion during while using the product, while using the actual platform. For example, if we take any fintech company or any financial service company, users should feel safe while using an AI-powered platform, and that they should know that their finances are protected and their experiences overall being looked at from various aspects, not only the actual functionality of the product, but also that we're making sure that your overall experience will not lead to any potential harm from any other angle rather than the actual functionality. So safety is a generic term in one hand, but I think if you look at specific contexts, it'll be much more easier for you to actually define the measurements of safety and goals of safety.
Yeah, I agree that once you go into a specific use case or a flow, you know what the users are expecting, and you should align with that. But let's take if we're talking about a financial system that is like a financial advisor in that aspect. So this advisor assistant gets my information. First, I want it to be very safe in the aspect that is secure and nobody could see it in private. But let's put that aside because it's kind of like obvious. People don't want anyone to know about their financial situation. But the fact that somebody would talk to me about this kind of, and it's open-ended. In usual systems, I'm just pressing something and the response would be an action that I would expect. If not,
Right.
it's a mistake in the way that we bought the UI. But
Mhm.
in this case, the question could be open. Of course, I can ask you different things as an assistant, and you could answer different things as
Yeah.
an assistant. And a financial situation is something very private, and sometimes it could be very emotional if we're just thinking about like a business going down or less revenues or whatever. And the way that we interact with this system is not only the fact that you want it to be accurate and safe and we could trust it. We want the interaction to be in a very specific way. We wouldn't expect our accountant to say something that is, I don't know, offending or something, right?
True.
So this widens the term of safety in the sense that the interaction should be trustworthy and safe and good for the end customers.
True, 100%. I think for fintech or financial services, I think the data and the actual experience is overall more sensitive than others. The only thing that I can think of that's really close or even more sensitive is healthcare. But
Yeah.
if we're talking about like financial services, I think not only the actual, as I said, not only the actual functional the functional operations that we need from a product is important, but also the overall experience. And if we compare it to the non AI world, like when you call a customer support center and you ask them for help, you wouldn't expect to have harmful content there, right? You wouldn't expect to have somebody who is judging you for something due to your financial situation, or something like that. You wouldn't expect a human being to kind of give you wrong advice or like bad advice.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why exactly what I think AI should be focusing on is also to kind of make sure that companies are delivering a robust experience at scale and advice at scale. But not only that, I think it's something that needs to be at least with the level of a human being when we say the word safety or security, to making sure that the overall experience targets that, that soft areas that potential AI might fall into. Think about, any, by the way, think about any type of any other language other than English. When you have an AI agent that actually talks to you might need to localize the local culture to your Gen AI experience. You need to make sure that specific phrases are used differently. Some terms are not even used. Pictures you might show in one market might not be shown in other markets. So I think the overall safety experience for AI needs to take so many parameters into consideration that companies would eventually benefit a lot from first providing a very high level customer experience, but also customer would benefit much better when they have a tailor-made experience to their needs, but also to their expectations.
So that means that companies who are thinking about using these like systems, AI or generative AI solutions, need to take into consideration the basics, which is like security, privacy, and so on. But they need to have another factor that is like they cannot really explain exactly what would be the answer. They cannot really anticipate exactly what would be the answer. So they need to have these guardrails of the experience in a very clear way. And in some cases, they don't even know the question. Therefore, they don't know the answer that will be
Exactly.
created, right? So it's much more complex. Would you say that this, like all of that, these are the reasons that companies are more reluctant to use generative AI?
I think I think so. I can't speak on behalf of all companies, but I think what companies are interested in is first making sure that their automatic decisions, they don't make they make as less as possible poor decisions. And I think when you look at the overall benefits of AI, and of course I'm a huge fan of AI. I think it's a great tool and technology that basically empowers a lot of us when used properly. I think what companies are actually looking into is to making sure that they also unleash and unlock potential business operations that could lead to their customers' enhancement and lead to their customers' overall delight. Think about, if you have the opportunity to provide advice at scale, but not only, also to kind of give your customers the opportunity to extend their horizons and give them more functionality than they could ever imagine, while keeping them, in a high quality slash safe environment. This is something that a lot of customers would lean into, especially when areas that require require a lot of attention and require a lot of automatic decisions to be made, and require a lot of accuracy. I think the great thing about AI in some areas, of course, in most areas at least, is that you have the opportunity to kind of collect feedback as you run over time, and to kind of incorporate that feedback into your system, making sure that in next cycles you have a higher quality decision. And that's the beauty. I think the pace, you could have a relatively a very high pace of improvements over time, that could overall benefit the customer widely.
Yeah. How does the ethical development of AI impact the quality and the success of AI products and services?
It's an interesting question. I think that ethical development of AI has a profound impact on the quality and success of AI products and services, like, in general. But when AI is designed and developed with an ethical considerations in mind, it's more likely to be trustworthy, transparent, fair, which can lead basically to increased user adoption and satisfaction, and less poor decisions. I mean, ethical AI development basically ensures that AI systems are designed to avoid biases, decision making, discrimination, or harm. um, which can damage basically the reputation and credibility of the company on one hand, and also can provide a poor experience for the customers. But not only that, I mean, think about the fact that when you develop an AI system with care and you care about your customer's problem and you make sure that you understand your customer's problem, but you develop it responsibly, overall, the direct impact to the quality is that you make less false positives and less false negatives. When you do that, basically your quality of the decisions goes high, and that's the expectation. We want to reduce as much as possible wrong decisions that that system takes. For that, we look into the data, we look into the design, we look in the overall experience. Some experience might not need AI to be provided. Some experiences might need Gen AI in order to become robust as needed, but some actually basically need the classic AI experience. So I think responsible AI is a discipline and it's a phenomena that we're looking at from various aspects, but the impact of the quality of the service of the product is huge and it's very remarkable once you have that mindset in mind. And responsible AI has been, by the way, the actual practice has been like it has been there for a while.
Yeah.
It's just now, having it under a single umbrella that's called responsible AI makes it much more defined and much more measurable.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the bias part because
Mhm.
most people would say, okay, the algorithm is biased because people are biased, and people are biased because sometimes the situation is biased, right? So, where is the line between like trying to overcorrect sometimes? And let's think about an insurance company saying, like, we have most of the accidents in kids under 22 or whatever, which is this is what happens, right?
Mhm.
And on the other side, you're saying, okay, we don't want to discriminate young people and we need to correct it. And this is like for everything else other than that. So, how
Right.
do we measure with this is the reality, but we don't want it to be biased? So, what's the balance here?
Good question. I think it's a trade-off, right? I mean, the overall problem is that when you collect as data as needed, or when you collect a lot of data, you don't always know if you need the entire data in order to make the decision. Like when you train a model and we train an AI system, you need to be aware of the potential biases that could occur due to the lack of representation in the data, or over the data might just have like some floating parts that are not needed, and they just basically create that bias. So I think, to your question, how do we kind of balance that? So there's no straight answer to that, but what we can do definitely, once we design the actual solution of the problem, and once we collect the data that is needed for the problem, we need to make sure that we use the data in a responsible way, and that we make sure that we have the ability to test potential discriminations that we believe ahead of time. If we manage to control the factories, basically, if we manage to control the factories of our AI systems, starting from the data, from the design of the solution, from the design of the problem, even, and we manage to kind of make sure that the harmony between the data and the solution makes sense, and that we're testing the environment, that we're testing the system in the right environment, making sure that we look at the edge cases, and we make sure that we manage to cover as much as possible of the potential scenarios. I think that's one aspect to it. The other aspect is if we monitor these systems once they're deployed to live, and we keep track of how decisions are being made, and we have some retrospective and feedback loop into the system, I think that would definitely reduce the potential harm and potential discrimination and
Ye-
biases.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that it's really different if you're having a responsible AI for healthcare or finance and for social media on the other side.
Mhm.
And if we're thinking about social media, the what is biased and what is not biased is very hard to manage. It's very hard to say like that's the truth, that's what's going on, or these like edge cases, and we shouldn't like let them be the prominent one in the experience. So how
Exactly.
could you balance that? Because that's not a technical question, that's not like a
Yeah,
measurement system.
yeah, yeah.
So how can
That's
you do that?
That's a great point. I think there are two ways of the experience. There are two dimensions of the experience. The first dimension is how you articulate an overall experience to your customer from the side that they enjoy the benefits of the product. I think the other dimension, which is a huge part, is how do you develop other algorithms and other solutions to protect that overall experience without taking into consideration the actual original experience. With that said, I mean, some models today, some AI models and algorithms basically are designed to provide the experience and to provide the actual functionality of the product, making sure that you get what you need. I think other algorithms and other solutions are designed today and should even be designed more to meet the goal of providing the safe environment. I think once you have both perspectives, and once you have two different approaches on creating the overall experience, that could mitigate potential harm. The main reason for that is that we can't build an end-to-end experience from scratch without taking into consideration the potential risks that could be there. For that, I think companies are investing a lot of efforts today and allocating a lot of resources today in security and safety of AI and developing robust services that actually protect the overall system, not only the service but the entire system and experience. And I think once you have these two things and these two efforts distinguished and not combined together as a single force, rather than having each its own goals and each own targets, I think that overall benefits the overall experience of the customer.
Yeah. But what you're saying is like, let's take into consideration that social media means that they want us to be engaged. And
Mhm.
this is what we want to see, for example. And we know that people are more into seeing extreme situation, maybe even violent or hard, right? More than just something which is very subtle, which is not that provoking, right? So on one side, you're saying, okay, this is what look people are looking for. Would give them what they need. This is what they want, right? So they would get that information. These are the kind of videos we're going to show them, for example. On the other side, you're asking yourself, what is the meaning of what I'm creating for the society? And it goes even further when we're talking about VR and the metaverse and all of that. Like, what do we really want to achieve, or what we should do, other than what we could do, or what currently would give us the best revenues and engagement.
So
And
I'll actually have two parts of this question. The first one is that it's not only for social media, but overall, I think companies should, and they are doing it today, create their own set of values that they believe their business should be promoting. And I think any company would want to promote ethical values through their products, and to make sure that their products actually benefit society rather than harms society. So that's why I think once you have that defined, it's much more easier for you to kind of say, okay, this content should not be in my platform, should be removed, should be reported, and should not be there at first time on one hand. So I think once you have that defined, once you have that clear, I think your strategy of how to enroll your product, it becomes much more clearer. When you give the example of harmful content in a social media platform, I think no company would want to promote any type of content that could be harmful to their customers. So that's why I think once you have that in place, once you have that value in place, it'd be much more easier to kind of define your overall experience as much as possible. On the other hand, I think once you have a strategy rolled out and you monitor your system over time, And it could be, that, because AI is not a deterministic solution. It could change over time. Different data might impact the decisions that are being made. I think once you have a robust monitoring and tracking system in place that could take into consideration not only the technical parts, but not only the functional parts of the system, knows how to mitigate or alert once there is a potential harm to someone, I think that would be a key solution to how to protect your overall experience and how to become better at your craft.
Yeah. So let's go into these like virtual worlds that I just mentioned. Could
Yeah.
AI powered virtual worlds provide new platform for education, training, personal growth, and enhancing human capabilities?
Yeah. So I think, and the virtual world is, and I'm assuming you're referring to the metaverse. So today, the metaverse. So actually, the metaverse has been the the term has been for a while. And as the metaverse
It
continues,
reminds me when we had these games like, I don't know, 10 years
yeah,
back, right? I
exactly.
don't remember the name of the game. It was like a world that you could, I don't remember. It's like a game that you go into a virtual world, actually.
Exactly. You had, there were plenty of games, and there still are. But I think, the as the metaverse evolves, um, I think we can expect these virtual worlds to basically become even more sophisticated, allowing us individuals to engage in a fully immersive and interactive experience that could simulate a real world scenario. I think these virtual worlds can simulate real world scenarios, allowing individuals to practice and learn new skills, of course, in a safe and controlled environment. I think they can also provide, personalized learning experiences, adapting individuals' learning styles, fulfilling the needs of individuals, not having something that's more generic. Even I think these virtual worlds can also provide a space for individuals to explore their interests and creativity and passions, fostering personal growth experience and self-directed learning. I think we haven't experienced that yet, but I think as the metaverse becomes more widespread, we can expect these virtual worlds to become an integral part of our routine and daily lives. I think AI powered virtual worlds have the benefit to unlock basically new possibilities for education, for training, for personal growth, and basically, providing, empowering people, providing a platform that empowers prosperity and extendability of the human mind.
So let's say like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and people would have this avatar. It could be looks like them, maybe how they want to look, does matter. And they go into this world and they could experience whatever they want to experience. They could be in Africa and they could be in another office, whatever they want. And they would interact with other avatars or human beings that are there. Do you see any potential risks that could go? First, that comes to my mind is the detachment from the real world, from the real world. I was outside there, especially for small or younger generations that are very attached to these like virtual experiences.
Yeah. So if even from from a technical perspective, the metaverse or any virtual platform, specifically the metaverse, is actually that it's a three-dimensional platform, right? If we have the internet as a two-dimensional platform, the metaverse has another horizon. And I think when you have that third dimension, I think the risks basically become higher. You have potential of privacy concerns. For example, think about that. If I manage to monitor the way your avatar moves, that could let me learn a lot about you, right? It could help me gain a lot of experiences about you. It could help me understand what type of things that interest you, what type of information that could be offensive for you, what how you feel, in some cases how what's the situation of your physique and health. So think about the privacy concerns that I, as a platform, have when someone like you uses my scenario. So I think when deploying AI in immersive environments like the metaverse, I think that several key ethical considerations arise. And I think, first, there's a need basically to ensure that the AI systems are designed and deployed in a way that respects users' autonomy and agency, particularly in environments where users may be vulnerable and manipulation or exploitation. I think this includes ensuring that AI powered interactions are transparent and clear and are not basically and understandable to our customers and to the company's users, and to have control over their personal data and interaction. That is something that I think any potential user of the metaverse might want that. Now, to the other part of your question of how that might impact the overall disconnection to real world, I think it's a good question. I think it depends on the basically depends on the usage, and how these solutions are being designed. If we define the metaverse as a tool that could help us accelerate some activities that we might wanna that might actually cause might give us much more benefits once they're done virtually, and that's one thing. But if we look at the metaverse as a sole platform for our overall interactions, that might give us that might create a lead to disconnectivity with the real world in some cases. So I think
Sure.
there should be guardrails, and we haven't experienced that platform so far that much. That's why I think companies and governments regulations should have guardrails on how to design these solutions and how to use these solutions. Like, do we employ the same laws that we employ in the real world in the metaverse? Maybe. Do we need to have some additional laws and regulations there? Could be. Do we need to make sure that everything is transparent only within the metaverse or also without the metaverse? Is everything that happens in the metaverse related only to the metaverse, or do we need to report that back to the real world to make sure that somebody is looking at us? So I think there's a lot of questions that we don't have answers to now, and there's a lot of questions that we don't know about now. But as
Yeah.
we move along and as this platform, evolves, there's a lot of interesting areas that we
Yeah.
need to cover, providing a safe environment to our customers.
The use case that comes to my mind, do you know Replica? It's a
Yes.
companion, AI companion, right? So right now it's only a chatbot. You could say what's the face of it, but it's not like a 3D avatar that you
Yeah.
interact with. It's just a chat. But I could just imagine that it will take even a few months or maybe a year until they have a full-fledged avatar that will talk to you and you will talk to it, and it has all the characteristics of reading emotions and being expressive in the way that it talks and being much more engaging. So I could just imagine these kind of relationships going into the metaverse, right? I can just imagine people that right now are very engaged in these kinds of relationship, and maybe they're not a big number, but currently there are a few of them. But currently, I would just say, like, in the chat, you don't need more than that. In the chat, in order to have more retention, if somebody decides to be less with this kind of AI companion, it it will do everything that it can, like, to go back to be a girlfriend, an AI girlfriend instead of real world girlfriend, because they want people being more engaged in a connection, and to decrease retention. This is how they see it. Could you just imagine these kind of experience going into the metaverse, and what does that mean?
Yeah, I think the I think the bigger question and is about our basically our identities, right? I think there might be a potential implications of blurring the lines between human and AI identities, not only the metaverse. As an AI technology, we might basically have some questions around that, but I think um, eventually, if we think that AI can provide, if we compare, if we take the analogy of AI and a human being, and we decide and we say that, okay, how can we control any type of relationship between a human being and another human being to be as harmless as possible, as safe as possible? I don't think there's a clear answer to that, right? I mean, we behave
Sure.
differently. The
Sure.
biggest, but there we don't have control of how people behave or how people react and how people interact. I think with AI systems, we have a better possibility and a better opportunity to kind of try and mitigate the potential bias that is there. Again, that goes back to the set of values that we're trying to promote as a company and as a platform. If we believe that our values are clear and they provide ethical implications on our users, and we make sure that these identities are designed to kind of promote these values in their interaction with human beings, then I think that that's halfway to get there. I think the biggest challenge is why when we don't have control over our systems and we don't know exactly what goes in there and how people use them, and that's exactly the fear that society might face, and the challenge that we might face as companies to provide that experience and to kind of make sure that and this goes back to my earlier point on making sure that we monitor our systems in a way that provide us feedback on how things are going and to let us know whether we have the right knowledge and the right uh, algorithm or the right guardrails in place to provide that safe environment. But I think the question is very relevant also to our current AI systems, but not only to the metaverse. And it could definitely benefit us more if we manage to provide quicker solutions and research that area ahead of time.
Yeah. But when we're thinking about the ethical considerations, I just want to highlight the fact that, companies are not, non-profits, therefore creating
Yeah,
profits. And even if they want to be very just, and it seems like the values are only what they sell for PR, and maybe the you know the bottom line, and the board requesting to have a better bottom line is more focusing their attention. This is how I would say. That's one thing. And second thing is like sometimes you talked about regulation, and it seems that regulations are very, very late in the game. It takes them so long until they do understand what is the implications, and until these regulations could go forward. So they could take the GDPR for security and safety of the data, for example. That makes sense. But all the ethical considerations about what human beings should do or could do with these technologies are so late in the game, as I see it, that it will take years after they're already here until they really understand the implications. Do you see that as the most pressing ethical challenge that you see in the future of AI, or you have something else in your mind?
that's a beautiful question. I think so. Going back to the first part, I think as I mentioned before, there's the way I see it. There's a straight connection between having an ethical or responsible AI development process within a company on the quality of the product, which basically leads to financial gains. The way I see it, like eventually, if you need to provide a high quality product, and that's one of the things that companies are striving towards is having a high quality product. And quality can have different meanings, based on the context, based on the product, based on different aspects of the interaction. But I think everybody wants to have high quality products. And I
Sure.
think a lot of studies show today that if you manage to develop and have an ethical mindset in place, that connecting to the quality of the products is quite there. It's a trade-off in some areas, but if you look at the overall picture, you wanna, like, even if you deploy a solution a week later, but you know that it will probably have less mistakes, then you probably want to do that, right? You don't want to rush into deploying solutions that are not fully tested, not fully developed as needed. And I think, once you have that point of view, your strategy becomes much more clearer. So and then the connection between high quality product and financial gains is also quite straightforward. Like, if you want to make sure that you keep your customers happy, you give them high quality products. If you want to make sure that you continue to improve your product, you basically focus on the quality of your product. So I think the bottom line of companies is basically looking at the overall customer experience and the quality of the product. And I think responsible AI technique and development process could definitely embrace that. So that's why I'm so into this field, because I think it has like a lot of applications, not only to the actual ethical values, but also as an overall discipline. I think it benefits a lot. Um, Now, if we go to the second part of the question about regulations, and I think regulations is super important for many reasons, and they're quite obvious. I agree with you that in some areas regulations might be a little bit too late, but it's just the nature of technology, and specifically in AI. The pace is so fast of development and deploying new products every day, and I think regulations need to keep up with that pace. So I think for the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of countries and governments that focus and kind of provide that guideline and regulation and compliance of how AI should be rolled out. But I think in the coming years, we'll see even more of these regulations coming in. But not only that, I think the technique of how these regulations will be developed will probably change and become much more faster and on one hand, much more generic to kind of make sure that to cover as much as possible. On the other hand, they need to be tailor-made for specific cases, assuring that experiences of AI and any immersive technology is being controlled and being looked at with the right lens.
Yeah. It reminds me of a discussion we had like 15 years ago. I'm that old that I could remember that. It's like when the mobiles just came, right? So these mobile devices came, and everybody is currently full-time addicted to these devices for sure. Taking them everywhere, and like you cannot miss that everybody has his device 24/7, right? So the questions were back then how engaging, how delightful we want these experience to be, what is the direction we want to take it. And it seems that nobody asked like these questions within these companies because yeah, they won the prize, which is getting all the attention from all the clients, being addicted full time. And I think that the same questions are being asked right now about what is the most pressing ethical challenges that we see in the future of AI. And the questions are very prominent, while
Mhm.
the answers are really soft. It's like it's not as clear as saying, like, this is the future we want to get, these are the goals we want to reach, and this is how we get there. Because it's like this is technology is moving really fast, right? Even much faster than the mobile revolution for sure, and has vast implications for our workforce, for our late daily life, for our interaction with technology and the way that we interact with the world. And still we're
Mhm.
thinking about it in a very subtle way. Do you feel that too?
I think in some areas that is true. On the other hand, I think with Gen AI being around for the last couple of years, there has been a lot of rise in the attention of how AI is shaping the way we interact with our machines overall. And I think Gen AI has proven that. I think Gen AI has gave a lot of people that are not technical people an understanding of the capabilities that AI can have on society, the implications that it can have on an individual on one hand, but also on society. And I think a lot of individuals, governments, and associations are asking the right questions. Now, up until AI that runs in the background of an application might not be understandable to a lot of people, and it makes sense, right? I mean, it's something that we don't always see. With Gen AI, we do see the capabilities that are there. So I think that for the last couple of years, a lot of associations, governments have been looking into that quite tightly, and I do expect actually that to grow. I agree with you that the smartphone example was a little bit different. I think mostly because the pace of development was a little bit different also, and the pace of deployment was not as fast as AI systems today. But I think it's clear to everybody that AI systems will become they already are, but they become even more an integral part of our lives today and in the future of us and ours. And that's why I think a lot of questions are being asked, and a lot of companies are looking into how to develop these algorithms and applications in a much more ethical way, and making sure that they answer any potential and they address any potential harm that could result as misusage.
Yeah. So, what are your hopes and concerns about the implications of AI on humanity and society?
So I hope. So I think one of my hope is that we continue to develop and use AI systems in a way that respects the values that we're trying to promote. That we put our human values and goals of implications in society at the top of the of our minds, to make sure that we protect and we enhance the overall experience, not only to develop cool stuff, but also to make sure that the customers are benefiting from the products and applications in the right way. I think society is becoming much more aware of AI as we use more AI systems going forward, and I hope that we manage to control any potential issue that comes along the way. In addition, I truly hope that we start looking at AI as a technology that would provide that would close a lot of gaps that we have. It could be educational gaps, health gaps, any type of gap that if we manage to create or to leverage AI to basically accelerate closing that gap, I think it will be uh, um, a much more meaningful goal for society, um, providing a much better future.
Yeah. So, in your mind, what you're seeing, if I understand correctly, is the fact that education, for example, could be as good as in New York, as in like East Africa, or
Yeah,
that you could know and get better information about your health and about medical options, even if you live far away from the big clinics,
yeah,
for example.
exactly, exactly. It
I
basically
see.
democratizes. It has the ability to democratize um, any high quality service to anyone. So, and I think that is what companies are looking at.
I see. Okay, okay, we're almost done. I have a question I usually ask most of my guests.
Yeah.
What's your number one tip for AI entrepreneurs today?
Oh, okay. That's a great question, actually. Um, so my number one tip for AI entrepreneurs, so first of all, is to focus on building a strong, sustainable business model that basically complements the capabilities of AI, and not only like rather than looking at relying on the technology itself, but also looking at the actual problem that you're trying to resolve. And there is something that we keep mentioning all the time. I mean, I keep mentioning all the time is that we One of the top priorities today is for us to identify real world problems that AI can help solve. And the examples I gave before, in healthcare and in fintech and in education, I think this basically creates value. And when you develop a clear value proposition that resonates with the customers, I think you have it all. AI is a great tool and a great technology that um, we still learn from today. And it's, I think, one of the only technologies that it's basically has a partnership with humans. It's not only that we use AI to benefit from or to complete our tasks, but also the system enjoys and learns from us as we move along. So it's a multiple way usage pattern that we didn't see in many technologies. And that's why I do see this partnership being there for a long time. And as entrepreneurs, I think once you identify potential areas that could help out your business model and strategy to create that value proposition, while being aware of the huge capabilities that AI has, I think that's when you click, when you're ticking the right boxes.
Right, right. Thank you for that. Where could people hear more about you and contact you?
Basically, you can look at my website, www.hishamabdulhalim.com, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm also there.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I want to congratulate you on your new role into it. So good luck with that too.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. It's been very valuable and it's interesting for me. So
Thank you,
and
everybody, for joining.
sure. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. I invite you to sign up to my new online leaders program, Unlocking the Power of Generative AI, designed to equip leaders with the skills to build successful generative AI products. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya. Bye bye.